All right, let's get into one of the most famous and frankly one of the weirdest and most wonderful poems in all of American literature. We're going to break down Emily Dickinson's Because I Could Not Stop for Death. It's an absolute masterpiece that completely flips the script on how we usually think about the end of life. So, this is the huge, central question Dickinson just throws at us right from the start. Forget the Grim Reaper with a big scary scythe. Instead, just imagine death as this courteous guy, a suitor even, showing up in a horse drawn carriage to take you on a date with destiny. It's such a wild and original idea, and it sets the tone for everything that follows. And that surprising idea kicks things off. The poem doesn't start with fear or panic or a big struggle. Nope, it begins with a surprisingly calm and civil invitation. The speaker, our narrator, she doesn't fight it. In fact, she's just too busy living her life to even think about dying. Okay, so right here in these first few lines, you've got to notice two absolutely crucial things. First, that word kindly. Death isn't forcing her, he's a gentleman. And then, bam, the second thing. There's a third passenger in the carriage. It's immortality. This tells us right from the get-go that this journey isn't just about an ending, it's about what comes after. And there they are, right? The cast of characters for this road trip. You've got the speaker, who's basically all of us just caught up in the day-to-day. You have Death, our patient and polite driver. And then there's Immortality, the silent chaperone, promising us where we're headed. See? It's a journey, not some terrifying abduction. So let's move on to the ride itself. Once the speaker is in the carriage and they get going, the pace is so deliberate. It's almost peacefully slow. There is absolutely no sense of panic or rush. You know, this slow, unhurried pace is just loaded with meaning. Dickinson is basically telling us that death is a natural process. It's not some sudden, violent crash. It's as normal and, well, inevitable as a quiet carriage ride through the countryside. And this line, oh, it's just brilliant. It shows us how completely she accepts this. She puts away not just her work, her labor, but her fun, her leisure too. She has literally left the entire human world behind. And why? Because of his politeness, his civility. She's a totally willing passenger on this trip. So, as the carriage keeps moving along, the journey turns into something like a greatest hits tour of the speaker's own life. The things they pass by aren't random at all. They're these perfect little symbols of her entire existence flashing before her eyes. Look at how this unfolds. It's a perfect timeline, isn't it? They start with kids playing at school. That's childhood. Then they pass by fields of gazing grain, all ripe and full. That's adulthood, our productive years. And finally, they pass the setting sun, which of course represents old age and the end of a life. But right as they pass that setting sun, everything changes. The whole feeling of the poem shifts. That warmth of life starts to fade away, and this unmistakable chill comes in, telling us we're crossing over into a new, unfamiliar place. Dickinson uses this change in temperature to show us something huge is happening. One minute, you got the warmth of the sun on your skin, that's life itself. And the next, this cold, quivering dew settles on everything. The speaker is literally feeling herself crossing the boundary from the world of the living to whatever lies beyond. And get this, her clothes. They're made of gossamer and tulle, these super light, thin fabrics you'd use for a wedding dress, or maybe a burial shroud. They are totally not warm enough for this sudden cold. It's a symbol, right? Her physical body is no longer equipped for the spiritual reality she's just entered. So the carriage finally makes a stop. But the way Dickinson describes his final destination is, again, so gentle. There is no horror here. This is simply the speaker's new home. Instead of calling it a grave or a tomb, words that sound so final and scary, she calls it a house that seemed a swelling of the ground. I mean, that's just a brilliant way to put it. She makes the brave sound domestic, like a quiet little cottage, a natural part of the landscape, not some place to be afraid of. You can just feel how quiet and understated this is. The roof is barely there, the fancy architectural bits are already part of the earth. It's a description of a final resting place that's just so peaceful, so integrated with nature, and completely, totally calm. But wait, the poem doesn't actually end at that house. In this final stanza, the camera, let's say, zooms way out. The speaker is now looking back on her journey from a place that is completely outside our whole concept of time. And here it is, the part that just blows your mind. Centuries, centuries have gone by since that carriage ride. But to the speaker, it all feels like it happened in less than a day. This is Dickinson's incredible way of showing us that in the afterlife, our way of measuring time, minutes, hours, years, it just doesn't apply anymore. It's meaningless. And this is the ultimate reveal of the whole poem. Death wasn't the final destination. The grave was just a little pause. The real destination was, and always had been, eternity. Death was just the driver who was kind enough to take her there. So, if we boil it all down, Dickinson gives us these huge, profound ideas to chew on, that death is a gentle guide, not some monster, that our lives are basically a journey with a purpose, a trip toward immortality, and that once we get there, our earthly ideas like chime just fall away. And this is the breathtaking final realization. It all clicks into place for her. She realizes that from the very first moment the journey began, the horses, led by death, were already pointing straight toward eternity. The whole thing, from that kind invitation to the centuries that have passed, was all just one single smooth ride to an immortal existence. You know, Dickinson wrote this poem almost 200 years ago, but its radical vision of death as this civil, gentle transition still feels revolutionary. It really challenges us to think differently about our own journey, not as something we should fear, but maybe, just maybe, as a calm and purposeful ride toward whatever comes next.